Recorded version of our presentation from our College 101 Parent Night today. So we're going to do some general introductions of our counseling staff. We're going to go through at West Seattle High School. There are 4 of us, and we also have a counseling
over graduation requirements and what students need in order to earn their high school diploma. Are going to organize graduation requirements in 4 buckets. So students know they need 24 credits for graduation. They also need to satisfy the graduation pathways, which we'll explain a little later on. They must complete their high school and beyond plan, and that is through Naviance, which we'll break down again in another slide. And then students need to earn 60 hours of community service by graduation.
In this slide, you'll see all of the credit requirements to graduate from West Seattle High School. So students will take 4 years of English throughout their high school career. They'll take 3 credits of social studies, which breaks down into world history in 9th and 10th grade, ethnic studies in junior year, and American government senior year, 3 credits of math, 3 credits of science, including 2 years of physical science and 1 year of life science, 1 credit each of art and CTE electives. CTE stands for Career Technical Education, as well as 2 years of health and PE. All students must take 1 PE class during their time at West Seattle High School. They can waive the additional 1.0 PE credit requirement, but everyone has to take 1 semester of PE, and they have to take health as well in order to graduate. The remainder of the credits will be filled out with other elective courses, including world language, other electives, to total 24.
There are different requirements for minimum college admission standards, very similar to what you need for high school, but what you'll note is that 2 credits or 2 years of a world language is required, and it has to be the same world language. And as you see for the 3 credits, social studies, math, and science, what we actually learn from most colleges is that they require a 4th year of quantitative course, whether that's math or a math-based science course.
Students, we cover community college or 2-year college, 4-year colleges and universities, and trade and vocational schools. We have a trade and vocational expert here on campus, Mr. Brian Fitzgerald, who's available in room 115 and can help students set up an apprenticeship or trade after college or high school. We have a wonderful opportunity called Seattle Promise, which allows students to have tuition-free enrollment at one of the 3 campuses in Seattle for a 2-year college: South Seattle, Seattle Central, and North Seattle colleges. They can have up to 2 or 3 years of free college in order to earn an AA or AS degree. And we have a Seattle Promise liaison here on campus every Tuesday named Bradley Llewellyn. Students can schedule appointments with him and complete the application process. Our deadlines are here on the screen. It's really important to note that if a student misses a deadline, even by a couple of hours, they lose their access to the scholarship. So the first deadline is on February 14th. And we will be working with students and connecting them with Bradley in order to make that deadline.
Slides. We're going to show you a series of questions for how you can help support your student to frame their college search. Is fit. So in the next 5 slides, we're going to really walk through the pieces of fit that a student should be evaluating to be able to identify what specifically about the campus is appealing to them. There's questions about the student themselves in terms of how are they going to evaluate what they're looking for in a campus in terms of how hard do they want to work, what do they want the academic setting to look like, are they ready for college, are they going to need a lot of support to be able to have success in college, and what do they want to learn. So first we want them to frame their search around them. And these are a set of questions to be able to help guide those inquiries. The pieces of school that they want for themselves. Let's think about if all colleges are the same. If we're going for a general degree like biology, every school will have that. So what are the location specific things that they want in a school? Should they be in a city? Should they be near the mountains because they like to ski? Are they like, I hate snow, and they should be near a sunny place? What are the things that are physically true about the location? As you think about cost, you want to be aware of, if we're going to an East Coast school, factoring in the cost of flights. And sometimes in terms of like, how far away from home do I want to be? Is 3 hours too much of a stretch, or is an hour and a half a little bit better? So we're helping with each of these slides of questions to help identify the characteristics of a school so that a student can narrow down what they're looking for. Where we want to be. Now let's start talking about the college culture of the campus. So do we want it to be big? Do we want it to be small? Do we want there to be a lot of events? Do we want there to be specific programs like a focus of study abroad? Do we want them to have an outdoor adventures program that the school is facilitating? All of the cultural aspects of what they'll be doing at school aside from classes. That's what we want to be evaluating in terms of a college campus. And ideally, in each of these slides, your student is coming up with a couple things that resonate loudly to them. We want to go from thousands to, these are the 4 key things that we want our college to have. And if we get down to 4 things that are like what matters, it really is going to be a lot more successful in terms of identifying fit for a college, in terms of this is what the student is looking for, but also that college is looking for that type of student. Of college culture questions. So is it a faith-based school? Is there activities in the library? Are there sports? Are they into like events being brought to them? Is there a Greek system? There's schools that don't have Greek systems. So as they think about finding success academically at college, because the intention and point of college is academics, how are they going to be able to thrive while being away from home? So what are the other pieces that they want? In terms of a parent, a thing you can bring into this is retention. So how often, looking at that retention number of how often our students are staying from freshman year to sophomore year, and then as well as they exit their college, what is their job placement look like, and what support are they getting from the school for that?
Last year, we had your students complete the Supermatch search in Naviance in their junior year. So parents of seniors or students have already done this. But if they haven't, your student can log into their Naviance account and complete the college Supermatch search. This search engine will ask your student about different qualities that they're looking for in a college. Do they want a 4-year school? Do they want somewhere on the West Coast? Do they have a particular major they're interested in? And then the engine will give them results of schools. What's nice about using the Supermatch function in Naviance is it can help your student start to build their college list, and Naviance makes it really easy for students to organize their list of colleges in the fall of their senior year and track each school's deadline, whether they're a Common App school, and what additional documents might be required to complete their application. So we strongly encourage students to use their Naviance accounts to help guide the college search if they haven't already.
Here is our senior year timeline. As parents, you can really support your students by checking in with them every month about all of the tasks that we have listed here. In September, this is obviously a very busy month, so it's helpful to check in about college and like preparing for applications, to check in about ordering transcripts and completing the counselor letter packet if needed, as well as the other tasks listed for September. In October, they're working on editing their essay and continuing to work on that application. And then in November, there are a bunch of deadlines up, such as early decision and early action, as well as that UW Seattle deadline. In December and January, more regular applications are due. And it's also important to note December 1st is when that FAFSA opens, so important to check in with your student about that as well. And then in April, that's when colleges notify students of their decisions, and it's a great time to apply for those scholarships. Slide we have the components of the college application. So first off, it's going to be listing those academic honors and activities in the application, as well as including standardized test scores. Not all schools require the test scores, so it's important to check in about that. Additionally, you have the personal essay as well as supplemental essays. If your school requires those, as well as letters of recommendation. The college interview as well, though that is becoming more rare and likely, only really applies if your student is applying to a highly selective private school.
College. They typically will use something called Common App. Common App is a portal that houses hundreds of colleges, and students are able to plug in their demographic information and their course list just once, and they can apply that to multiple colleges. In Common App, students will request their counselor as a recommender, and when they do that, we are able to upload their transcripts and letters of rec. Some schools will not use Common App, and in those cases, students will be applying directly to the institution. That means that they'll either apply directly through the website, or in a couple instances, they will have their own portal, like Cal State schools will have their own portal. If students are not using Common App to apply to a college and they want to request their transcripts, they will need to do so through Naviance. In Naviance, they will add a college and then request that initial transcript, and we can send it over to the school. But these are typically two ways that students will be applying to schools this fall. Decision deadline. Some schools will offer early decision or early action deadlines. These are before that early regular decision deadline. If a student is applying early decision, that means that a student must enroll in the school if they are accepted, regardless of their financial aid package. The only ways in which we can break an early decision is to pay a fine. Early action is more of an indication that students are really excited about the school. It is a non-binding application, meaning that a student might have a slightly better chance of getting into the school with an early action application, but it is not binding. It just is showing their interest. The components of an application is the personal statement. A majority of schools are going to require at minimum at least one personal statement, and some will require additional supplemental essays. The personal statement is around 500 to 600 words. We have worked with a lot of colleges through our college workshops on honing students' personal statements, as well as they start writing this in their junior English class and in their senior English classes. Most of the feedback that we've gotten from colleges when talking about the personal statement is that students often struggle to speak specifically to who they are in the essay. And so we always encourage students to have multiple readers of their personal statement and really reflect on sharing their story and their reflections of self in that personal statement. And then they will typically share those personal statements through Common App, but there are slight differences in those applications.
These workshops for our upcoming seniors. So if you are interested in getting some college application support, this is a great time for you to come and talk to your counselor. We will be having Tuesday workshops on advisory and at lunch. So if students want to drop by and get some help with us, they can sign up through Flex Time so that we can call them out to come into room 212 with Ms. Larson to work on the college applications.
See our number of recommended schools that students should be applying to. So generally speaking, we encourage students to apply to really no more than 4 to 6 colleges. And the way that breaks down is you're going to have 1 or 2 reach schools. These are going to be schools that are maybe a little far-fetched when you're looking at your test scores and GPA, but you never know. You could write an incredible essay or a letter of rec could really help your application. So it's worth trying for 1 to 2 reach schools. You want to apply for probably 2 to 3 match schools, and these are schools where your students' GPA and SATs are right in line with the averages, and they probably should get in. It's probably going to be a good match for them. And then you want to have at least 1 solid school this would be a school that you can kind of keep in your back pocket that you most likely will get into. For a lot of our students, this might be a Seattle college through the Seattle Promise Scholarship, for example. So you want to have at least one option in your back pocket where if you don't get accepted to any of your other schools, you know you're going somewhere next year. Testing has become optional in a lot of cases now. So we usually advise students to check to make sure that their colleges require SAT and ACT scores before getting stressed out about it. You can visit fairtest.org to see a list of schools and whether or not they require SAT and ACT. Also, you're not behind anyone. If you haven't taken it yet, we will be offering the SAT to all of our seniors in October through their English language arts classes. You can also take this test later on in the year. So if you haven't taken it yet, not to worry, there's still time. When you do take the test, you'll want to make sure that you have your scores sent directly to your school from the College Board. We, as West Seattle High School, cannot send scores on students' behalf. They have to come directly from the testing agency. So just make sure your student knows that if they are going to a school that requires test scores and they are taking the SAT or have already taken it, they'll need to send their scores directly using College Board. Question from students a lot: how do I request a transcript? So to review your options, if a student just needs a copy of their transcript for themselves, just to use as a reference while they're completing an online application, it's easy to reference your historical grades in the source. So when you log into your student source account, there'll be a tab on the left that says historical grades, academic history. Just click that tab and then that will pull up a list of all of their grades and credits that they've earned in high school. This is the exact same information that shows up on their official Washington State transcript. So if your student needs an official Washington State transcript to be sent to colleges, there's two ways you're going to do that. If you're applying to a school through Common App, we will send it on their behalf through the Common App as long as the student has linked their counselor to their account. If they need to send it through Naviance, so this would be if a student's applying to a UC or a Cal State or any other school that's not on Common App, they need to request it using Naviance.
So there are colleges that require recommendations, and they'll be very explicit about how many and who they require that from. So we do ask students to be very careful in the instructions in how those are to be requested and by who and if they're needed. So generally speaking, colleges will ask for between 1 to 3 adults, whether it's a teacher, community member, an employer, or a counselor. If that is required for your student for college applications, we ask that students request at least 3 weeks in advance. In order for us to write a genuine letter, we need enough time to write said letter for the students. A letter can take up to an hour to write for a student, so that's why 3 weeks is important since we do have a large caseload. So please make sure the student is following the timeline listed here in how to request a letter of recommendation, as well as providing us a recommendation packet or a resume. Completes a college application, there is a section where it asks for class rank. Surprise, surprise, we do not disclose class rank due to SPS policy. So as your student completes their college application, there is a section in the ranking area where we say that we do not rank our students.
Of students that are in 9th, 10th, or 11th grade. We also have some tips for you as they can prepare in high school for this college application process. The first is thinking through course selection. We meet with each student individually to talk through their course selection in the spring. And when we do this, it's important that students think through which classes they want to have that are rigorous, especially if they're thinking about applying to a college with a specific major. Making sure that they're taking that extra science class or extra math class can be very, very important. Students' GPA is important. We want to make sure that students have a high GPA, but also are able to prioritize and balance their time with activities that they enjoy and can speak to in their application process. The activities log is an important part of the application, and it's important that students can talk through passions and interests that they have outside of the academic setting. This is a place where students can talk about jobs, or they can talk about clubs that they're passionate about, or things that they do on their free time. The essay, like we mentioned earlier in this presentation, can start being written in junior year and then will be finalized in their senior year. It's always great to think through different topics that they can write about and practice the drafting process. It's really important to talk through college with your family and talking through students just at the dinner table, what goals they have and where they would want to attend and their priorities when they're thinking about a post-high school them. As well as at West Seattle High School, we have several college reps visiting us, and students of all grades and ages can stop by these college reps and get to know them and ask them some questions that could help in their decision-making process. They can also attend different college fairs, which we will talk about in the next slide. The NACAC is coming to Seattle, which is a national college fair. This is a great opportunity not only for our 12th grade students, but for all students if they are curious and want to interact with some different colleges all around the country and the world. There's several international colleges that attend this fair as well. So it's a great opportunity for students to have a fun sibling date or go with a parent, get a coffee and walk around and interact with different colleges all across the nation and world they would not otherwise be able to talk to. We encourage students to sign in when they're talking to colleges they're most interested in, as colleges make a note of that when looking at their applications later in their senior year. College 101 presentation. If you have any questions, you can always go to the West Seattle High School Counseling website here on the screen. This is a great resource. We work very hard to make sure this is up to date as possible, not only with information around college, but also scholarships, volunteer opportunities, etc. So feel free to visit that. We will be working with 12th grade students all of the fall and winter season in our college workshops, and so that is a great opportunity for your students to ask us any questions they have and interact with lots of colleges on campus. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we appreciate you.
With our technical difficulties, if you have other questions, please reach out to your student's counselor. Have a nice day. Bye.